Brilliant. Welcome to the Outsider Xero 101. My name is Alison. I'm your host today, presenting to you live from Rolleston. We have an office here in Rolleston. It is my home office. If you hear anything unusual, obviously there are other people that live here that will be coming home from work shortly. So today is sort of a Xero 101. Just sort of going to be going through the very basics of getting around Xero, reconciling and doing a GST return out of Xero. There will be questions at the end, and part of that is you can just pop them in the chat and I'll pick them up as I go and we'll answer them then, and we'll go through, and I've allowed a bit of time for that today. So we'll also cover off some quick navigation shortcuts, how Xero sort of thinks when it's doing the reconciling, and sort of go from there. Obviously, we would have wanted to present this in person. COVID had other ideas, but this is something that I could present from home, so we figured why not just roll with it. So I think we might just get into it. So I will switch to Xero and start showing you around a few things. So I'll just pop across into Xero. So this is my Xero dashboard. It's got this bit along here, the blue bit, is what we call the ribbon. So if you ever find us asking for help and we say go and click accounting on the ribbon, this is the part of Xero that we're talking about. So the other thing that we sort of, each one of these has its own drop down. There's also some settings that are accessed from when we say click your organisation name. That's this here. And there are some options that drop down from here. But what I wanted to talk about was just sort of setting your Xero up for you. So like a lot of things, you can customize Xero to how you like. Unfortunately, you can't change the blue bar. I have actually had a client ask me if they can change the color of the blue bar. It is what it is. We have got the plus button here. So the plus button is your quick launch. So this is your springboard into sort of getting past the dashboard to get quickly into other parts of Xero. So with the quick launch, you can go from here, you can create invoices, bills, quotes, purchase orders, manual journals. All of that is just a quick jump from here. Obviously, invoices and bills will only apply if you've got those subscriptions that allow that. There is also the search functionality. It's obviously not working in the demo company, but with search, you can search for contacts, you can search for amounts, you can search for invoice numbers. It searches everything, so you can sort of go all encompassing. It is really quite a powerful search. Notifications, that will bring up any notifications that are important to you or your organisation. The other one we like is the help button. So the help is, if you're stuck, the help will suggest things that are relevant to the screen that you're on. So say if you're on the invoicing screen, it will start saying, do you want help with invoicing? You can start typing in the search, and it will start saying, sort of suggesting what you want help with. So you might want help with setting up email invoices to Xero, and it brings up all those bits there. If you're a bit stuck, you can ask us for help, and we'll also help as well. You can email xero@outsider.nz, and that will get the Xero gurus, myself and Jen, or we may forward it to your client manager so that they can help. We do share it around the team, so there's a bit of help there for you. And if all else fails, if it's the weekend, you can always contact Xero support. They're picking up those tickets 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's teams, I know they've got a contact centre in Utah, there's some in London, but they're picking up those tickets all the time. So I'll close that. If you have some apps, they'll be appearing here. And then obviously there's where you drive your user account from. So that's sort of a quick run over of what the ribbon does. It also, under the demo company, there's a few other things here as well. So files, with Xero, you get a couple of gig of file storage. You can choose to use that to upload copies of bank statements, insurance documents, anything you want to keep safe. You can put into Xero files. It's as simple as clicking and dragging a file into the browser, or just uploading a file. You can email, there's a unique email address. that would appear there for you, so that you can sort of email files to there if you like to keep something safe. Obviously, don't go going it out because you don't want people spamming your inbox. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard and I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks to sort of help you get the best of your layout so that you're seeing what you want to see when you log into Xero. So the great thing about these white boxes is that you can change the layout of these. You can hide some. There are other options. It's a bit customizable. So down at the bottom, there's an edit dashboard. So if I click on that, I can see that there are some here that are hidden that have show. So if I click show, it will bring it back onto the dashboard. If I click hide, it will hide it from the dashboard. So let's say I want to see this missing bank account, but I want to hide the accounts watch list. You can click hide and you can hit save changes, and so that will then update your dashboard. So the next time you log in, this is what you get. But I'm going to edit dashboard. I'm going to bring something back. I'm going to bring the account watch list back. So the account watch list is really good if there's a code or something in your system you want to keep a track of. You want to see it where it's visible and memorable. So the great place of putting the accounts there is going to accounts, accounting, go down to chart of accounts. And then when it loads, because I'm on Wi-Fi at the moment, which isn't the fastest, I want to keep a track of my interest expense. So I'll click on that and then go down here, and there's a box here, show on dashboard watch list. So if I enable that and click save, and then I have lost my ribbon, which is a good start. It's all right, I've got a back button, we'll go back. So now if I go back to my dashboard, under account watch list, the interest expenses appeared. So that's a way that you can sort of get things that you say you want to keep an eye on, your GST balance, your income tax balance. If you want to keep an eye on your sales, it shows this month and this year. So that's something that you can do. So that is what I think is a really cool feature about Xero. Also, just quickly too, for security purposes, you get your last login up here. If anything looks suspicious, please change your password. You have to have two-factor authentication turned on anyway, but it's always a good check to make sure that that's when you last logged in. So I'm going to talk now a little bit about reconciling in Xero. So I'm going to just bring something else up now. So we're going to talk about how Xero reconciles. So we sort of talk about people like us do things like this. And this is one of the things that we live by at the Outside of Chartered Accountants. And this is why I'm sort of giving this to you now, is so that you can sort of see what we say is best practice, what we recommend, and how to get the best out of it, because people like us do things like what I'm showing you now. So we'll go to how Xero reconciles. So what Xero looks for when it does a reconciliation, it goes, do I have a match for this? So a match is there an existing invoice or bill sitting in the system? Or is there a transfer from another bank account that I match this to? Then it goes, do I have a bank roll? Have I seen this before? And if it doesn't answer any of those, it just gives you a blank. So what Xero does is it has a little bit of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if you're coding something consistently to the same place, Xero learns that. The downside is if you make a mistake, Xero will bring that mistake back to haunt you for the rest of your life. But you can retrain it. Not all is lost. So I have a Xero sub that I have prepared earlier. So I'm going to jump back into that, and we're going to actually go through some bank reconciliations. We're going to set up there are some matches already set up. We're going to set up some bank rules, and I'm going to walk you through some bank rules. We're going to do a basic one-line reconciliation. We'll split a transaction, and I'll show you about attaching a document as well. So it's quite a bit there. You may think that the reconciling is the easy part. The reconciling is the best bit. So I'll go back to my window with my Xero dashboard. And so we've got the business bank account. So the great thing I love about Xero is everything is clickable. You can click the three dots, you can click the reconcile, you can click that. So I'm going to actually just go into reconcile. And so here's some transactions that Xero and I have prepared earlier. So you get a little bit of help. If it's your first time, it will keep suggesting the help to you. If you don't need the help taking up all the real estate on the screen, you can be like me and hide the help. So what I said was, first off, Xero looks for if there's a match. So the first two lines that we've got here are in green, which means that Xero has found a match for these transactions. So it's gone, I have an invoice, they've used the reference number invoice 0035. I've got an invoice number 0035. It's the same amount, so it's going to suggest it to you. Don't blindly accept what the computer says. After all, at the end of the day, it is a computer, but it doesn't know everything. It doesn't know your phone calls that you've had with your client where you've said, I'm going to pay this invoice. So always have a quick check that, yes, that is exactly what it is, and you can click OK. And it disappears. It's gone. It's reconciled. Yay! And what that does is it then marks off that bill or that invoice is paid in the system and pushes it through to your reports, your GST returns. It's all done. So I've got another one here that's got a match, and so that's actually fantastic. So Truxton Property Management, I'll just click OK on that one. Now, if we have something that doesn't have a match, we can have a bankroll, because that's what it looks for next. So if I go down here, I've got a box now that's all in blue. So we go green, blue, and then we go to some of these other ones. So this has got a bankroll, so somebody's actually already set one up for it. So it's suggesting that there is a rule. You can say, if you're not sure of what the rule is, you can view the details and it will show you where it's coding to, or you can click the don't apply rule and you can remove that rule from the transaction and code it somewhere else. Otherwise, if it's not quite working right, you can hit the edit rule. So what I'm going to just do is I'm just going to view details, because I just want to make sure that this bankroll is correct. 7-Eleven, yeah, I know it's American. Office expenses, miscellaneous from the corner store. Yep, we're quite happy with that. We can click OK and then reconcile again. But say if you wanted to create a bankroll, so say you might pay, let's go down here, you pay your security monitoring monthly. They don't send you an invoice, you just send out the automatic payment. You want to make it easy. So there's these little options here. So we've got the option to create a bankroll. So we'll go through to there. And so what it would do is it would bring up when money spent on the bank statement matches. So it looks at the payee details, the reference details, anything that comes through in your bank statement. So you can do an any or an all, and you can customize it. So if you've got something that changes, you can say contains Swanson security. So you've got a little bit of control there over how it matches. You've just got to try and think like a computer. You can tweak it until you get it right as well. Or if you're really stuck, you can pop us an email or give us a call and we'll come in and sort you out. So the next thing we've got to do is we've got to set a contact. So this is who the contact gets loaded against every time the transaction happens. So you can say that you want it to automatically set the payee from the bank, or you can type in the name of the payee that you want to have paid. This bit here, so say we've got a fixed amount, say like the first $30 is your monitoring, and then you've got call out fees on top of that. So you could have, we don't actually have a code for security. So I'm just going to put general expenses, and this is monthly monitoring. So you can put a description, and that description helps us as well when we're doing your accounts, sort of see what it's for. It's sort of like we talk about the who, what, why. It's the why you spent this money. It lets us know. So we'll just put this to general expenses. If you have tracking turned on, this one's got region. There'll be a tracking option box drop down, but we can say that $30 fixed amount monthly monitoring. And then we can have call out fees. And we might just, for the sake of the demonstration, we might just put this to repairs and maintenance. Again, with no region, and then 100% of what's left over is split out. So you can change that to, you can have it split 50-50. So say you're doing entertainment somewhere regular, you can have a rule for your local pub, and you can split your entertainment out 50-50 if you're taking the guys for a drink. that sort of thing. You can have it to grow something up or sort of reduce it down and sort of balance it out, but that percentage must always come to 100. So it is quite powerful that when you're doing these rules, you can do that with them. The reference, you can have it set again when doing the reconcile. You can have it pull through from the bank statement. So I'm just going to say set the reference from the reference, and we can select which bank accounts to run it on as well. So we can set up a bank rule that runs on all bank accounts, and you might have that for interest received, you might have that for bank fees, something where that is a common line item between all bank statements. So in this instance, I'm just going to run it on the business bank account because I'm only paying out of this business bank account, and then give it a rule, something that means something to you when you're doing the reconciliation, because this is what will show on the bank rec. So when you're done and you're happy with what you've got, it's just a simple save button. So now if we go back down, we've got a rule here for sponsor and security. So let's see how it works. I'm going to just go back to that view details, and we're going to see what it's broken it down to. Remember, I split it out. So then we've got $30 monthly monitoring, and then we've got the rest going to call out fees. So I'm happy with that. That works exactly as it was intended. So I'm going to save the transaction, and then I'm going to reconcile. So those are sort of the two things that Xero can automate for you. Bearing in mind their bank recs are changing. So this screen isn't necessarily what you're going to have maybe even from next week. They've just changed the look of it, and they have put a lot of money into further machine learning and artificial intelligence. So it is going to get smarter, and on the roadmap there is auto reconciling coming if you've got bank rules and matching. So what next? If there's no match and there's no bank rule, what do we have? It's seen this before. So we've got this that it's seen something before. And this is what it does. So if it says, I've seen Ridgeway Banking Corporation fee before, it's going to say, I've seen this before, and I'm going to tell you what it was last time, and I'm going to suggest it to you. Because when you're reconciling in Xero, Xero is asking you the who, what, and why. Those are the simplest questions that you need to answer. So it's going, last time I saw this, the who was Ridgeway Bank, the what was bank fees, and the why was a bank fee. So I'm going to suggest that to you. And you can actually just accept that as it is, which is what I'm going to do. So if you have invoicing, there's no other ones there that it's suggesting. No. So we're going to go on to if you've got one that doesn't quite match. So you've got match tab. So you can click the match and you can search for an invoice to allocate it to if you've got the invoicing package. So I can type in Jacaranda and there's nothing there. Clear my search. It's just having a think. You can search for down through the references and see if there's something that you want to match it to. This is probably not the best example because I did have some for city limousines, which I've deleted. Actually, we'll try the smart agency. So we've got smart agency. So I can search for smart. And so then I can actually select the two invoices that are being paid off that and match them and reconcile them off. So if you've got more than one invoice, you can match as well. And you can also do I'll just do one here. So say we've got is Bayside Club, but the invoice that we've sent is for $3,200, but we've only received $2,000. We can actually say split, and it will part pay that invoice and bring it through to the GST return. And we just click OK. It will just give me a warning because my invoice is dated 1st of September, the payment was 28th of August. So it will also do that as sort of a bit of a fraud prevention thing as well if something's not quite right in the system or it thinks you might be making a mistake. The other ones that we've got are transfer. So if you're doing a transfer between accounts, it will suggest the other bank accounts that you've got loaded in Xero. I don't have any here because I don't have any bank feeds set up for my fake business savings account. The other one is discuss, and you can see this one here. So discuss is you can leave us notes. If you're not sure where something goes, you can jump into this Discuss tab and you can leave a little note and hit Control-S, and that will save it. And you can send us an email or give us a call and say, hey, I've left some transactions. I'm not sure what to do with them. I've left you some notes in Xero. We can go in and see what the notes are and sort of advise you from there. So it's got a really great feature for us as well. So we'll leave that there. I'll just click cancel. So one of the other things that you can do is that's great using just this box if you want to add reconcile something to just one code. If you've got something and you want to sort of split it between two codes, then that's where this add details comes in handy. So if we go to add details, we can scroll down here and we can say that entertainment, and we can split it, say 0.5, and entertainment, non-deductible. And so there we've split the transaction. So it's now 50-50, and because I'm out by a whole cent, I'm just going to change it to 15.76. And you can adjust it as you need to. Actually, the other great thing too is that you don't need a calculator to do maths. 17.5 minus $7.88, just like you would in Excel, gives me what I need to balance this transaction. So I've just split this between entertainment, 50% deductible, so you can split it in Xero. And then you can save transaction and reconcile. So one of the other great things too about this add details is there is this little icon here that looks like a piece of paper. So with that piece of paper icon, you can upload a file to it and attach the file to that transaction in particular. So say if you've gone and bought an asset or spent over $5,000, you can attach a copy of the invoice to that transaction. The great thing about that is that you've got a record for warranty purposes, and we've got a copy for reconciling fixed assets. But there is a copy there, it's somewhere, and it's really safe and secure, and it's there for all eternity. So you can click that file and upload a file from the computer. There'll be something there that you can upload. And then when you're done, you can save transaction. I'll just click cancel because I'm just going to create Cooper Street Bakery. I'm just going to put the whole thing to entertainment. The Y is optional, but it'll be nice to get the information. Return. So we talk about GST best practice. So one of the big things about doing your GSTs from Xero is there's sort of a best practice around it, because if you miss a few things, a couple of things could go wrong, and that's you're not filing the correct returns on time, you're not finalising the GST periods, but also just double checking that what you're filing is correct. And we start off by saying that first things first, reconcile your bank feeds, all of them. That way you've got every transaction, it's in that GST return. The next one is, I'll walk you through, is check that your bank accounts reconcile. So that is that they reconcile back to your bank feed, so that there's nothing that's gone amiss in, say, like the previous 2 months that you've done your return, because unfortunately computers are what they are, they do stuff up. It's very rare, but it does happen. And then obviously the last thing we say is save a final return and file, but don't forget to pay. The great thing about Xero is there is a button to push the GST return through to the IRD. Unfortunately, it doesn't set up the payment for you. So it's been our experience that a lot of people have gone, yep, it's done it, but why hasn't it paid it? And the reason being is Xero doesn't pay it for you. It'd be nice, but it doesn't. So I'm going to go through all of these as to what we do when we prepare GST returns for clients. This is what we do. So this is where I sort of talk about the people like us do things like this. Bank reconciliation. We've reconciled. Yes. So one of the great things about Xero is obviously because it gets live bank feeds from your bank. So depending on your bank, ASB do bank feeds every day. ANZ do Tuesday to Saturdays, so you get the day before. I think Westpac are quite like that too. Some other bank feeds, you only get transactions when they happen. So what we're going to do is, now that everything's reconciled, and it's saying here everything's reconciled, I'm just going to check my bank statements. And I'm just going to change this to statements, because this statement shows me my last statement dates. So as you can see, I've got a lot of statements that are a bit out there. Normally they'd say your source would be bank feed. Unfortunately, because mine is a demo company, it's not live data, it's not real. Mine says imported. So, but it's got an end balance. So that's good, we can work with that. So I know that my last balance date, if I had a bank feed that came in today, I'd pick today's date. Unfortunately, I don't, so I'm going to just go straight to reconciliation report. So you can get to it from here. You can get to it from here. You can get to it from your dashboard and go here. So there's lots of different ways that you can get to this report. So I'm going to go to it from my dashboard. I'm already sort of aware that something's not quite right because it's saying, why is this different? So let's go to my reconciliation report. Okay, I've got a couple of transactions that are still sitting there, oddly enough. It's because it's a demo company. Stranger things have happened. It is what it is. Check your bank account. So there's a little drop-down box there, so you can go and check your savings account. Just make sure that that date is the day that you've got a statement for. So I always recommend that if you're doing it in the middle of the month, you sort of pick a Tuesday through to Friday, just to make sure. Otherwise, on the day you've got it. But if you've got a really good reconciliation report, everything matches, you don't have any issues, what you have for balance in Xero should match your statement balance. Unfortunately, in my demo company, it's nil, but that's what it is. If you've reconciled everything and it doesn't look right, this is a great example of something not looking right. You've got outstanding payments, receipts, you've got a balance out by. That's a time to get in touch with us so that we can see what's gone wrong. So assuming that that actually did reconcile, we can go up to the accounting tab in the ribbon and go down to GST return. So obviously this applies only if you've got a GST cash book or above product. The non-GST obviously doesn't have the GST return module. So we've done the first steps. We've reconciled everything and we've checked that our bank reconciliations reconcile, or in this case don't. Let's pretend mine do. So now we're going to do the GST return. So in your GST return module, it will give you GST returns due now. If you filed previous ones, they'll be sitting in the final return tab. And down here as well, you've got the preview period so far. So if you're wanting to see how your GST is looking currently, you can sort of get an idea on that. But as saying here, I've got my GST return to do, and oops, it's saying 9 days overdue. My bad. Just as well, this is a demonstration and not a real company. So we click into the GST return that we're wanting to prepare. So what we've got on the screen is exactly like your GST return paper forms used to be. How good? So we can quickly scroll down to the bottom and we can see that we've got GST to pay of $979.46. What we want to see now is what makes up these figures in here, so that you can sort of just not blindly file, but actually check what you're filing as well. So there is a GST audit report tab. And so that brings up all of the numbers and transactions in behind your GST return. You can click and sort by account. You can sort by date. My personal preference is I like to sort by account, because if you're doing a 2 monthly GST return, you want to see 2 rent payments, 2 rates payments, 2 phone payments. It's like a good logic check that you can say, hey, yep, I've got it right. So in this instance, 2 light and power, there's a couple of entertainment, some office expenses, there's 2 rent payments. So and you've got that logic check going that, yep, everything is in here that's meant to be in here. So one or the other, then you can go down and go, yep, GST on income. One of my checks is if you've got the invoicing package, that every one of these has an invoice number against it, so that nothing has slipped the system and we don't need to go back later and sort of reconcile an invoice against something that's just been coded off to sales on the bank reg. Just making sure that what is correct. And then obviously further down, we've got no GST. So these are things that have no GST on them. They're all your transactions, so that you'd find your wages here, your interest, your drawings, that sort of thing. So it's a good way to go through and check and make sure that you're happy with everything. And the great thing is about Xero being clickable is if you're not happy with where something is coded, you can click into that transaction. Let's find one that I want to click into. I'll go into this one here. You can go into that transaction and you can see what makes it up. In this case, I've got an expenses claim here, which we're not covering off today. You can go into Team Coffee. You can go and edit transaction. So you can edit this. That was non-deductible. And then you can go back to your GST return and it will update that for you. Now, the one thing that we absolutely love about the Xero GST returns over MYOB, it's got the advantage of, if I was to finalize this now, and I'm going to, just to give you a demonstration, say I'm happy with this, we go down and we say save final. So save final locks that GST period. So it goes, these are my transactions that make up that return. But say I go back and go, actually, you know what? That entertainment non-deductible was actually really deductible. Let's go back and edit it. And update. Go back to my GST return. And say, let's go now into the preview period so far. So I've changed that, and that obviously has effect on my GST. So what has that done? I've now got a late claims tab. So that's brought that transaction through to the next GST return. And this is why we love Xero, is because if you make a change, you don't have to wait for us at the end of the year to reconcile it to find out which transactions have changed that haven't been in the GST returns. Xero does it for you and keeps that GST up to date and brings it through to the next GST return. So that's one thing that we absolutely really love. So we're happy with our original GST return that we had here. I'll just go into it. So the great thing about Xero is that it's got an API which talks to the IRD, and you can say, if you're happy that this return is correct, you can hit the File Now button and go through to the IRD, and it will file that return for you online. And that's where I say, don't forget to set up your payment. So that's how you file your GST return. And that's what we say. People like us do things like this. And this is how we do it, and we recommend it's done, and it's the industry best practice. So I'm just going to go through a couple of little things as well, just to sort of show you how awesome Xero is. I'm not going to cover off invoicing. I'm just going to bring it up because it sort of has that, but where we can sort of enter some codes. So the great thing about Xero is if you're coding things off, you saw me do it where I changed something in one of the entertainment things. If you don't need to know the code off by heart when you're doing stuff in Xero, and that's one of the really great things. Years ago, I used to know the chart of accounts off by heart. Xero has made me quite lazy because I can go, I want to charge it to light and power. I can't remember the code. You can start typing in light and power and it pops up the code. You can start typing in the code and it brings it up. And the other awesome thing is that if there is no code, you can add one straight from where you are on the screen. You don't need to go away and come back. It's all right there. And again, look, that file icon's there too. So it's quite smart in that respect. You don't need to learn the codes. You just need to go, oh, I think it might be this, or I can create a new code. We don't recommend creating new codes unless you have some experience or a little bit of knowledge around accounting systems. That's just one thing that we're sort of quite particular on. And so that's sort of how we, sort of a quick rundown of reconciling in Xero and doing a GST return to best practice. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really cool that I could show you while I've got you here. In accounting, so reports, I'll show you this just quickly. So we talked about on the dashboard, sort of getting everything that you wanted on the dashboard. The great thing about reports is that there's some reports down here on this drop down. So you can customize what's on that report drop down. So if you go to reports, and it brings up all the reports, and there are a lot of reports. They've got these little stars beside them. So you might actually want to see the aged receivables detail. If you click those stars and make them blue, you just saw it change quickly then. It changes, and so you can have those as a drop down to quickly access those reports. How good? How good is that? And so that is our quick rundown of a Xero 101. Obviously, I haven't covered off invoicing and bills in this. It is just a time thing because there is so much powerful stuff in behind those to cover off. And as a lot of our clients that have GST cash books, this is actually all that they need to get up and running. You can, again, customize this. Everything's clickable. You can click through to those and see what makes those numbers up. It is really, really quite fun. So that's it. So I'm just sort of going to have a look at the chat and see if there's any questions. And I don't obviously have everybody in the room to sort of like look at and sort of go through. Projects function, yes, I will be doing something on these down the road. It's probably not going to be for a couple of months yet, but it's definitely one of the things that I do want to cover off because projects is so awesome. If you're watching this at a later date, Xero Projects is a very basic project management tool built into Xero. You can track your costs, your time, your materials. You can have it track against a quote. It has been one of those things that I've implemented it in a few clients in the last 12 months and they've absolutely loved it. And it's sort of, if you just want a basic job costing, time management, say you're a sole trader and you only have like a few small clients. Otherwise, if you're after something really quite substantial in project management, there is Workflow Max as well, with which I am a certified advisor for. And you'll find that most of us in the office know how to use it because Workflow Max underpins our tax system. Sort of trying to think if there's any other anything else I can sort of cover off with you. Obviously, we will be running one of these for invoicing and bills for those that have those packages. We're going to do one on projects. I'm going to try and rope Jen into doing one on Xero payroll that we can sort of go through in future sessions. What I am going to do is in a few days' time, hopefully we'll be back in the office. I don't know what's happening with alert levels. Nothing's popped up on my screen. My phones are in the other room just so that they don't bing. But hopefully we can sort of do these in person. I'm quite happy that if you're looking at moving to Xero, to have that discussion with you. If you're already using Xero and you want to see if you can get more out of it, also quite happy to talk to you about that as well and just sort of see where we can go. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a real pleasure to sort of walk you through Xero and what it can do and the power that it has. I hope you found it really valuable and I look forward to talking to you in the future. Thanks. Bye.